Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, going to be taking a look at the NBA slate on Draftkings for Wednesday, November the 16th. Now, as you know, per usual on Wednesdays, we got a big slate. We got 10 games tonight. So as always, guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk through each one of these 10 games. I'm going to give you guys my brief and quick thoughts on the slate, what I do like taking a first look on Tuesday night. But before we do get started with the breakdown, as always, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos, if they do help you out, please hit that like button down below. I do always appreciate the likes, and hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Also, if you are new here, check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. So PrizePicks is a player prop based DFS site. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of PrizePicks, but if you're not playing over there, get signed up, use promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And like I said, you know, PrizePicks is a player prop site, so you're just taking more or less on a player's projection. You can see some of the props that they do already have available for Wednesday slate. Recording this video on Tuesday night, so you know, obviously not the full board is posted right now. But as we get closer to the start of the games on Wednesday, you will see a lot more props added. You can take a look at their full board, see if there's anything that stands out to you. Again, you're just taking more or less on a player's projection. It's very simple. You just have to make at least 2 picks, or you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money. So check them out, guys. Sign up with promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. But let's go ahead and talk about some plays I like for this Wednesday slate. We'll start off with the first game of the night. So we got Indiana and Charlotte, and this is one we're gonna have to spend a little bit of time on. There's a lot of injuries today, a lot of question marks right now. So we'll definitely have to spend some more time on some of these games with injuries. And right now, the big injury in this game is Tyrese Halliburton. He is currently questionable. I don't think Halliburton has missed a game this season. So with Halliburton questionable, that definitely is going to change a lot on Indiana. So I think if Halliburton does wind up sitting, you would see more usage for guys like Miles Turner. Buddy Hield would get some more usage. Maybe a guy like Benedict Mathurin would get some more usage as well. And I'm guessing if Halliburton sits, you would see T.J. McConnell slide into the starting lineup. And T.J. McConnell has historically been a pretty good point-per-minute player. So if he does wind up starting here in place of Halliburton, he's going to be a pretty good value play at 3,400. He would definitely be one of the better value plays on the slate, I would think. And then, obviously those other guys like Turner, Hield, Mathurin, they'd all benefit as well. I think Hield at 6,800 would probably be my next favorite play. It's a really good matchup for Miles Turner. We've seen bigs be able to put up some really big games against Charlotte. So I think regardless, Miles Turner is someone we can look to in tournaments. But obviously he would look more appealing if Halliburton were to sit. If Halliburton plays, then I think Halliburton's viable because Charlotte, I think now that they do have LaMelo Ball back, this is definitely going to be a fast-paced team. They're probably going to they're going to start picking up the pace with LaMelo back. I think it's a pretty good matchup here for Halliburton. He's someone I have some interest in tournaments. I think Miles Turner is in play regardless just because of how good the matchup is. But outside of that, I'm not really looking to anyone else on Indiana unless Halliburton gets ruled out. And then on the Charlotte side, I think LaMelo Ball is the one guy that I'm interested in from Charlotte. His first 2 games back from injury, he's really not been super limited. His first game back, he played 28 minutes, but he was in foul trouble that game. And then last game, he played 34 minutes. So he's pretty much playing his full minutes. I think if this game's close, we can expect 34, 35 minutes from LaMelo. And we know this is a guy that offers a ton of upside. He's a guy that can get you a triple-double. He can do everything when he's on the floor. It should be, this should be a very, very fast-paced game. Should be a high-scoring game. Should be a close game as well. So I definitely like LaMelo in tournaments, and he's probably the one guy I'm interested in on Charlotte. I really don't see anything else I like here. That's probably it for this game. So definitely, going to be a lot to like, especially if Halliburton winds up sitting. Luckily, this is one of the first games of the night, so we'll have that news before lock. But let's go ahead and move on to the next game, Minnesota and Orlando. So some big injuries to watch in this one as well. Paolo Banchero, I think, has been out the last 2 or 3 games for the Magic. He's once again questionable today. And then Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable, and this is a pretty big one. With Wendell Carter Jr. questionable, I'm guessing if he winds up sitting, we would probably see Mo Bamba move into the starting lineup. And Mo Bamba's another guy that when he gets minutes, he can produce at a really high rate. He's a good point-per-minute player. A little bit of a tougher matchup here going up against Rudy Gobert, but if Mo Bamba winds up starting at 4,400, he's going to be a pretty good value play today. Obviously assuming Wendell Carter Jr. is out. And then if Paolo Banchero is out again, I'd assume Chuma Okeke would start. He's 5,300. He feels priced about right. I'm not super interested in him. But, if all these Orlando guys are in, if Banchero plays, if Wendell Carter Jr. plays, I really don't like much from Orlando just because everyone's kind of priced correctly. Franz Wagner, 7K. Bol Bol's over 6K. Jalen Suggs at 5,700 feels priced about right. But I will say that it's a pretty good matchup. Minnesota's been playing at a top 5 pace this season. In terms of defensive rating, they've been more towards the bottom of the league, bottom half of the league in defensive rating. So it's a good spot, but my main interest in these Orlando guys is definitely going to come. I'm going to be a lot more interested in these Orlando guys if Banchero and Wendell Carter sit. And then on the Minnesota side, Minnesota's a tough team to really get excited about when everyone's healthy, and that's obviously the case today. I think the guy that stands out the most is Rudy Gobert, and that's just because he's only $7K on DraftKings. Now, I know Rudy Gobert has been pretty bad lately. He's definitely not shown like a crazy high ceiling. His floor has kind of been low. He's had some really disappointing games. Orlando's not the best matchup. They're a pretty good defensive team against big men. But $7K for Rudy Gobert is pretty cheap. I mean, this is a guy that we saw priced in the upper $8K, $9K range to begin the season. I know his production's been way down lately, but he's due to have a good game at some point. If I had to play anyone on Minnesota, I think Gobert would be the first guy that I would look to. But my main interest in this game is going to come on the Orlando side with guys like Mo Bamba. I would like quite a bit if Wendell Carter sits. If Banchero sits, then we can start to look to guys like Wagner and Bol. I think if Wendell Carter and Banchero are both out, that definitely secures the minutes for Bol, and I think he'd be a little bit more appealing. But that's probably it for this game. I think we can go ahead and move on to the next one, talk about OKC and Washington. So really no injuries to talk about in this one, no major injuries. So at the top here, you got SGA for 9,400. SGA just continues to be, just amazing this season. He's been incredible. Even in tough matchups, he's been able to produce. Tougher spot last game against Boston, and he went out there and put up 59 DraftKings points. 9,400, I still think this is too cheap of a price tag for SGA with how well he's played this season, with how high of a usage rate he's had, and just how good of a point-per-minute player he's been. So I'm still interested in SGA. I think he's the one guy that does stand out in this game. It's a really good matchup for Porzingis. We've seen bigs be able to go off against OKC, but 8,400 for Porzingis, plus Bradley Beal is back. So at that price tag, I'm not really interested in Porzingis, but I definitely think it is a good matchup for him, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him do well here. But the rest of this game is not that appealing. I really don't see anything else I'm liking. OKC is going to be missing some guys like Trey Mann's out, Bazley's out, but they just run such a deep rotation that I really don't think that opens up any value. So honestly, in this game, it's kind of just SGA for me, and that's probably it. I really don't see anything else I'm liking here. I know Poku had a really big game last game. If you want to chase that, you can. His minutes have been all over the place this season, but we've seen when he does get big minutes, he can produce. I think his minutes are more secure without Bazley and without Mann. But like on a 10-game slate priced at 5,300, I'm not super interested in Poku. But again, if the minutes are there, he's got upside. But really, again, it's SGA in this game, and that's really it for me. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, talk about Miami and Toronto. So this is one we'll have to talk about because there's some injuries in this game. Tyler Hero's out. He's already been ruled out. Pascal Siakam's still out. And then Bam Adebayo, big question mark. We'll have to keep an eye on that. He is questionable. Fred VanVleet, questionable. He's been out, I believe, the last 2 or 3 games. And then Gary Trent was out last game. He is questionable as well. The big one, though, is definitely Bam Adebayo because, obviously these Toronto guys have kind of been priced up for VanVleet to be out, for Gary Trent to be out. They would still be in play, and we'll talk about them in a second. But if Bam Adebayo is out, I'm assuming Dwayne Dedmon would start at center. And Dwayne Dedmon is a really good point-per-minute player. Now, he is also questionable for this game, so we'll have to keep an eye on this. I'm guessing one of the bigs is going to play. I'm guessing one of them plays because I really don't know if they have any other bigs besides, Udonis Haslem's out. They might have to play Nikola Jovic if he's on the team still. If he's not, he hasn't played in, forever. Or if he's, I don't know if he's in the G League, but he's barely been in the rotation. I assume he would have to play a little bit if Dedmon and Bam were to sit. But if Bam winds up sitting and if Dedmon plays, I think Dedmon at 3,400 is going to be a really good value. We know he's a guy that can produce when he gets minutes. I'd assume he would play at least 24, 25 minutes here. He's only 3,400. He'd be a really strong value play. And then obviously if Bam does wind up sitting, that gives more usage to guys like Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry. These guys would look pretty appealing as well because obviously no Hero either. There'd be a lot of usage available for both Butler and Lowry to soak up. So I definitely would have interest in those two guys if Bam sits. If Bam plays, then I think it's just kind of like an avoid spot for me. I really don't see a ton I like on Miami if Bam is in. And then on the Toronto side, for me, it really just comes down to if VanVleet and Trent play. If they're in, I really don't like much on Toronto because obviously these Toronto guys have been priced up a little bit for when those VanVleet and Trent were out. But if VanVleet and Trent remain out, then we can look to guys like Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby. They didn't have great games last game, but we should expect them to have really big roles here. Even in a tougher matchup against Miami, you would expect Barnes and OG to really dominate the usage. So those are going to be guys that definitely look appealing if VanVleet and Trent are out. And then value-wise, there would definitely be some value on Toronto. We saw Delano Banton start last game. I think he would be a pretty good value play if he were to start again. Obviously, assuming no VanVleet, no Trent. Don't expect him to put up 48 DraftKings points again, but I think he'd still be viable if he winds up starting. Thad Young, assuming he would still start, would be an okay value. His price tag's also come up, but I think he'd be in play. So yeah, this game's kind of like a wait and see. It's really tough to dive too deep into this one until we get news on Bam, Van Vliet, Trent, because obviously their statuses impact a lot of my interest here. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Talk about the Celtics and the Hawks. So this is one worth keeping an eye on because we have some injuries in this game too. Malcolm Brogdon, I think, has been out like the last 2 or 3 games. He's questionable for today. And then Marcus Smart, he's probable, so he's expected to play. This is not like a super impactful injury, but if Brogdon does return, that limits the upside for guys like Derek White and maybe some of these other guys who were targeting, like maybe a Grant Williams. But in general, we should expect pretty much everyone to play in this game. Smart should be good to go. Brogdon, even if he's in or out, it's not super impactful. So at the top, you got Jason Tatum for $10,900. I'm not really that interested in Tatum today. I think the price tag is appropriate, if not a little bit overpriced. Trae Young and DeJounte Murray both offer plenty of upside, but in a tougher matchup against the Celtics, I'm not really going to go out of my way to play either one of them today. And then Jaylen Brown, he feels priced about right. Clint Capella, actually kind of like this matchup for Capella. We've seen Boston really struggle defending bigs this year. Without Robert Williams, their defense hasn't been as stout against big men. So I think it's a spot where Capella could definitely dominate on the glass. But he's just been a really tough player to trust this season. His minutes have kind of been all over the place. But I would assume on a 10-game slate, nobody's going to play Clint Capella. So, that's someone you could maybe go to in tournaments. He's worth a dart throw. But in general, man, I really don't see much I like here. It's not a game I'm super interested in. Everyone feels priced about right in this game. And especially with there being some, impactful injuries in other games, some shorthanded teams. Looking at these two teams, they're pretty much fully healthy for the most part. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Talk about the Bulls and the Pelicans. So, this is a game where we'll have an injury to monitor with Zion Williamson. He was ruled out on Tuesday, and the Pelicans are on a back-to-back today. I'm guessing Zion plays today since he didn't play yesterday, so I'm expecting Zion to play. If Zion does play, it just doesn't really make anyone look appealing here because obviously when Zion's in, when the whole team's healthy, it's just tough to get excited about guys like Ingram and McCollum and J-Val when they're all priced where they are. Do they have upside? Absolutely, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to play any Pelicans today if Zion is in. If Zion is out again, then we can start to look at guys like Ingram, CJ McCollum. Even with Zion out Tuesday night, Jonas Valanciunas really didn't play much at all, which was really weird. His minutes have just been so all over the place this season that he honestly would be a tough guy to trust, even if Zion's out. We did see Larry Nance get a lot of minutes, but Larry Nance has basically just been the backup center this season to Valanciunas. So if Valanciunas' minutes increase tonight, that probably means Larry Nance's minutes are going to go down. They're not really going to play Larry Nance and Valanciunas alongside each other. I don't know if they've been doing that much at all this season. So with Larry Nance just being the backup center, I wouldn't chase last game. I know he went off Tuesday night, but even if Zion is out, I wouldn't get super excited about Larry Nance today. So yeah, that's kind of my interest on the Pelicans. And then for the Bulls, it's just a very similar situation. The Bulls are a team that when they're fully healthy, DeRozan, LaVine, Vooch, when they're all playing and they're all priced correctly, it's really hard to get excited about anyone here. I think last time these teams played, DeRozan had a massive game, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. He had 43 DK points in 37 minutes. I think Zach LaVine, what did he do? He had 39 DK points in 36 minutes. And then Vooch, I think, was just kind of mediocre. He had 29 DK points in 27 minutes. Again, when all these guys are priced where they are, it's hard to really get excited about many Bulls. And the rest, the bench guys and the rest of the starters, I'm not really that interested in. So, in general, this is not a game I'm really that super excited about. I think if Zion winds up sitting, then that would make some interest. That would definitely make me interested in a few of these guys like Ingram and CJ and maybe J-Val. But we'll just have to wait and see with Zion news because I think that's kind of an important injury to monitor today. But let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Talk about the Cavs and the Bucks. So this is one where you have some injuries to talk about. Obviously, still no Chris Middleton for the Bucks, and I think Drew Holiday is questionable. Yeah, he's questionable. He maybe could return today. He's been out, I think, their last 2 or 3 games. But on the Cavs side, we have no Jared Allen, and I think Donovan Mitchell is expected to play. He's a game-time decision, but I'm pretty sure he returned to practice on Tuesday, so I think Donovan Mitchell's probably going to play. He should be back for this game. So I'm expecting Mitchell to play. I think Drew has a good chance to play. But with Jared Allen out, that does open up some potential usage, more minutes, definitely for guys like Evan Mobley and Kevin Love, and I think those are obviously the 2 biggest beneficiaries. Now, last game with Jared Allen out, Evan Mobley was pretty mediocre. He only had 27 DK points in 32 minutes, but his upside would definitely be a lot higher with Allen off the floor. He would get some minutes at center, and I think, Mobley should definitely be more productive with minutes at center. He had 13 rebounds last game, so I definitely think his rebounding numbers would spike if, or with Jared Allen off the floor. And then Kevin Love, we did see start last game, played 29 minutes, had 27 DK points. He was pretty mediocre, but I would still be interested in Kevin Love today. I'm still interested in Kevin Love today at 5,600 just because we know he has historically been a pretty good point-per-minute player. And without Jared Allen, he should play about 30 minutes, close to that. He's still in play for me as well. So the bigs from Cleveland, I do like quite a bit here without Allen. The guards, on the other hand, assuming Donovan Mitchell plays, I'm not super interested in the guards, Mitchell or Garland. Obviously, Garland went nuts last game, but I think a lot of that had to do with, Allen and Mitchell both being out. Assuming Mitchell comes back today, not super interested in Garland, especially now that he's 9K. And then on the Milwaukee side, Giannis, tougher spot here against the Cavs. I think this Cavs defense is definitely a tough team to really, for Giannis to dominate against, but they are going to be missing Jared Allen, so I think that does weaken their defense a little bit. But Evan Mobley's still a really good defender. Giannis is coming back from injury. He didn't look the best last game against Atlanta. He didn't shoot the ball that well. Just a disappointing game in general. I still think that if Drew is out, Giannis does have a massive ceiling because without Drew and without Middleton, he's just going to dominate the usage and he's going to do everything. But I don't think I'm going to be going out of my way to play Giannis today. I think this is definitely a slate where there's some other guys I do like to stand out that we'll talk about. So even if Drew remains out, I think Giannis is still in play. But if Drew does come back today, if Drew returns, I'm not really going to look to Giannis at that 12-6 price tag. I would really only be interested in him if Drew remains out. And then the rest of the Bucks, there's no one else on the Bucks I'm going to be targeting today. So that probably does it for this game. I think we kind of talked about everything here. Definitely favorite plays in this one are for sure the bigs from Cleveland. Without Jared Allen, I think both Mobley and Kevin Love look pretty solid today. But let's go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about the Mavericks and the Rockets. So the Mavericks, they are on a back-to-back today. We'll have to keep an eye on this. I know Luka Doncic played a ton of minutes in their game Tuesday against the Clippers. I think he played like almost 40 minutes, so we could maybe see some rest here from Dallas. Just, right now we kind of have to assume that everyone is playing, but keep an eye on the injury report. Wouldn't be surprised if you do see someone get ruled out from Dallas today. But assuming Luka's playing, it's a fantastic matchup against Houston. Houston, they can't stop guards, and Luka is obviously the guy that, Luka's one of these guys that could just destroy against Houston. Houston is going to have no answer for him. He's really, really expensive, but I think Luka offers a massive ceiling in the spot, and I think his floor is incredibly high as well. Assuming he does play here on the back-to-back, I think Luka's a really strong pay-up option. It's just a matter of, if we can fit him. And I think with there being some value on the slate, it should be somewhat easy to go up to Luka if you do want to go that route. So definitely interested in Luka today and a really good matchup. Dinwiddie I'd be interested in too, but I think it's 7,100. He's priced about right. But obviously, if Luka were to rest or something, that would make Dinwiddie a great play. On the Houston side, I don't really like much on Houston today. KPJ, Şengün, Jalen Green, they all feel priced correctly for this matchup. Definitely a tougher spot against a slow-paced Dallas team that plays good defense. Christian Wood, it's a revenge game for him against his former team. If you want to factor that in, I guess you can. I'm not super interested in Christian Wood today, but, facing his former team, maybe he wants to show out. If you want to go there in GPPs, fine. But really, the guy that obviously looks appealing in this game is Luka. Assuming Luka plays here on the back-to-back, I think he's a really strong pay-up option, and he should crush against this Rockets team. They're going to have no answer for him. So that does it for this game. Let's go ahead and talk about the last two games of the night. And this is probably the most interesting game to talk about, the Knicks and the Nuggets. You wouldn't think this would be a game worth talking about, but no Nikola Jokic for the Nuggets today, and Aaron Gordon is questionable as well. So the Nuggets could be really shorthanded here. Without Nikola Jokic, we're going to have to look at some of these Nuggets guys because obviously Jokic is a player that really dominates usage when he's on the floor. He's a guy that just does everything. So getting Jokic off the floor opens up a ton of usage for guys like Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, if he were to play. I think all three of those guys look really, really appealing today. Murray, MPJ, and Gordon. I think they're all in play. Would I play all three of them in the same lineup? I don't know. Haven't really obviously built any lineups yet, but I think Jamal Murray's upside is way higher now that, without Jokic. I think he's just going to have more usage, more shot attempts heading his way. His minutes have been trending up as well. He's pretty much not on a minutes limit anymore. So very interested in Jamal Murray today. Very interested in Michael Porter Jr. 5,900 is way too cheap for MPJ here with Jokic out. MPJ's minutes have kind of been all over the place this season, but we know he's a guy that can produce when he gets minutes, and obviously should be more productive without Jokic. So definitely like MPJ. And then Aaron Gordon, assuming he plays at 5,800, I think he's a pretty good option. Really all these Nuggets guys look appealing. And then, some other Nuggets we can maybe target. Don't know if I'd go to Bruce Brown, but Bones Howland is doubtful. So without Bones Howland, that does open up more minutes for Bruce Brown off the bench. I think Bruce Brown should be very productive in the minutes that he plays. 5,100, he does feel priced about right, but he should run that second unit, get a lot of usage. He's a guy that can do everything when he's on the floor. His minutes have been pretty good lately. Obviously, they should continue to be solid without Bones. So I think Bruce Brown is honestly kind of in play. I don't know if KCP really, I don't know if his role really changes. So, I'm not running to roster KCP today, but I definitely want to talk about the bigs. So, without Jokic, I don't know what they're going to do starting at center. They could go small and start Jeff Green at center. They could start DeAndre Jordan. They could start Zeke Naji. I think the most likely scenario is that they do start DeAndre Jordan. Now, this season, DeAndre Jordan has not really played a ton of minutes. I mean, the most minutes he's played in a game was 21. He's basically just been kind of the backup to Jokic. How many minutes can DeAndre Jordan handle playing at this point in his career is a big question. I don't think he's going to play 36 minutes. He just can't play that much at this point. But I think 24 to 25 seems pretty likely for DJ if he's starting. And DeAndre Jordan has historically been a decent point per minute player. He's a guy that can, get rebounds, he can block shots. He's a fantasy point per minute player that probably is going to play 24, 25 minutes here. So at 3,300, I think DeAndre Jordan is a really good value play today, assuming he does wind up starting. If they go with Zeke Naji in the starting lineup, if you play Jordan, you could just swap to Naji. Naji is he's $300 less. He's also center eligible. Naji, you can actually play at power forward. So whoever gets the start here at center between Naji or Jordan, I do like for value. I'm guessing it'll be Jordan, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. But obviously a lot of interest on these with these Denver guys. Not having Jokic just opens up so much usage. So a lot to like on Denver. On the Knicks side, not as appealing. All these guys on the Knicks feel priced correctly. It is a back-to-back for the Knicks, so we'll have to keep an eye on their injury report, but I assume everyone would play today. We did see Isaiah Hartenstein start at center once again on Tuesday. We'll have to see if he starts today. We'll have to see if Mitch Robinson returns. I'm guessing Mitch Robinson probably remains out. So without Mitch Robinson, I'm assuming Hartenstein starts again. And without Jokic, I think it's definitely a better matchup for Hartenstein than you might think. Going up against DeAndre Jordan is a pretty good matchup, I think, at this point. So if Hartenstein starts at center again, he's probably my favorite play on the Knicks. But I'm not really that excited about many Knicks guys today. All of my interest in this game is coming on the Denver side. There's a lot to like on Denver, with Jokic and potentially Aaron Gordon out as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the last game of the night, the Warriors and the Suns. So this should be a very fun game to watch. I think this is a national TV game, or maybe it actually might be Denver. I think it is this one. I think this is an ESPN game. So national TV game should be a fun one to watch. But for DFS purposes, I don't know if there's going to be a ton worth targeting here. Chris Paul is questionable. I think he's been out for their last 3 or 4 games. My guess is Chris Paul returns today. He's been out for a while. I would think this is probably the spot that he returns. Obviously in a big-time game against a big-time opponent, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. If Chris Paul returns, I'm really not interested in any Suns because Devin Booker got priced up, Cameron Payne's been priced up. All these Suns guys have been priced up for when Chris Paul was out. I think the one guy that kind of is appealing from Phoenix is DeAndre Ayton. We've actually seen the Warriors give up a lot of fantasy points to centers this season, and the Warriors have really struggled to stop centers on the glass and in the paint. And Ayton put up 41 DK points in only 25 minutes against the Warriors in a blowout win earlier this season. So I think it's a sneaky good spot for DeAndre Ayton. And at 6,100, I think he's my favorite play on Phoenix today if Chris Paul is in. Now, if Chris Paul is out, then we can look to guys like Devin Booker and Cameron Payne. But Cameron Payne is 6,600, which is an appropriate price tag. I wouldn't be running to roster him. Devin Booker's 9,200. That feels like an appropriate price tag. But obviously those guys would at least be viable if Paul sits. And then on the Warriors side, there's nothing I really like on the Warriors today. I think Steph in this matchup is just kind of like a GPP dart throw. The Suns are a good defensive team. I'm guessing Mikal Bridges will guard Steph here. Mikal's historically been a really good defender. I think he's done a pretty good job at kind of slowing down Steph. So Steph is just kind of like a GPP dart throw today. Wiggins, Poole, none of these guys really look that great at their salaries. Draymond, in this type of game, a big-time game, maybe Draymond gets up and plays well here. He seems to always play well in the big-time, prime-time games, and that's obviously what this is. So, maybe Draymond you could go to, but I feel like I'd be more likely to play Draymond on, the late slate than I would the full main slate. So, yeah, not a ton I love here. Honestly, my favorite play in this game is DeAndre Ayton, and if Chris Paul gets ruled out, then I think we can, go to Booker, we can go to Payne, but that's really it from this one. And that does it, guys, for this 10-game Wednesday slate. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, appreciate you watching. Hit that like button if you did enjoy. Hit that subscribe button if you guys have not yet. Also, if you're new and you've not checked out PrizePicks yet, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You can sign up with promo code NOAH. If you look at the bottom of the screen, promo code Noah that will give you your first, that will match your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up with that promo code. And you guys can take a look at all the props that Prop6 has available. Obviously, there's not really much up right now at the time I'm making this video on Tuesday night. But on Wednesday afternoon, check the board. There'll be a ton of props available. Again, you're just taking more or less on a player's projection. You can look through all their options, see everything they have. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. Check them out. Sign up with promo code Noah. Get that deposit bonus when you do sign up. But as always, guys, good luck on the slate. Thanks for watching the video, supporting the content. Appreciate you guys a ton. Best of luck, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.